Alright, so I'm re-uploading this video because it's been blocked in certain countries. I know Canada for certain, because of the copyrighted music at the beginning. And because I don't want to give them a reason to block, remove, or place ads on my videos, I'm just going to re-upload it without the music. But it gives me an opportunity to tell you about a dream I had last night. I was with my cousin, and he was complaining that he was having trouble with entities, and where his bed was shaking and stuff. And I said, oh, well, I know something for that. And I started doing the Kabbalistic cross. And as soon as I started vibrating the first God name, the sound was not what I expected. It came out very loud, very low and deep, like a foghorn, just resonating through the entire environment. It almost had a brass-like quality to it. And the light that I was drawing down ignited into this brilliant flash of burning flame is the only way that I can really describe it. And all of this surprised me, because this wasn't a lucid dream. This was just a normal dream, without my conscious awareness directing it. I was expecting just my normal, everyday, not a big deal ritual, and was unprepared for the power that came through. The cool thing about it is that my subconscious now knows what to do, all on its own now, without any conscious help on my part. The subconscious takes over when you're dreaming, understand? And my subconscious said, oh yeah, I know something for that. And yes, apparently the subconscious makes a big deal of that ritual, because it's a normal everyday thing for me. It's really, it's repetitive. But in my dream, it was wow. So subconsciously, they're very profound, which is why we do them. One thing I didn't mention specifically that I probably should have the first time around was always close your circles when you're finished with them. You always want to close the doors behind you, unless you just want something to wander in. And that will about do it. So everything past the opening credits is the re-upload. So if you've seen it before, you won't have to watch it again, unless you want to. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Okay, so I've become very busy lately and my time is limited. However, I wanted to get a video out because I've had more than a few people contact me who feel they're under psychic attack, under threat of astral entities, and having disturbances in their sleep, etc., and wanting to know what they can do about it. And there's a number of things that we can do about it. At the risk of getting ahead of ourselves, because I don't really want to get into the true nature of these things just yet, but there are a number of things that you can do. The first of which is to banish, banish, and banish again. Now I know that I've stressed the importance of grounding exercises such as the middle pillar, but banishing is just as, if not more important. So you should be doing some form of banishing ritual in addition to the middle pillar. In fact, the entire Neophyte grade, that is the initial grade, is nothing but practicing banishing and grounding. My personal routine during that grade was to come in the temple. I had a single candle at that time, so I would light my candle, I would light my incense, I would do my relaxation exercises and self-hypnosis to get myself into that trance, relaxed state. I would then cast a circle. I would then do a visualization exercise where you imagine yourself getting larger and larger and larger until the universe is at your feet. Then I would do the Kabbalistic cross and lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. After that, I would do the evocation of the archangels. Is all simultaneously one ritual, basically. I would then do the middle pillar. I would then do my meditation on a point. I would then do my meditation on a tarot card, and I would end with the Kabbalistic cross, and then I would declare the temple closed, and I was done. Aside from the meditation exercises, the entire grade is nothing but banishing and grounding. You're not really calling anything to you, so there's very little risk of anything getting through. And so you're able to practice. For when you do call things to you, you also want the ability to send it away when needed. Now, there are a ton of how-tos out there on the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. I'm not really having to go through how to do all that. It's easily found. There are a number of videos on YouTube, as well as in the book that I recommended that I work out of personally. Kabbalah, Magick, and the Great Work of Self-Transformation by Liam Thomas Christopher. Now, a natural form of banishing is laughter. So if you can think of something really funny and laugh for 5 minutes straight, like a really, really good laugh, that will do a lot to clear out a lot of negative things. Now, you can either create or obtain protection wards to keep on your person or around the area in which you sleep, amulets, charm bags, etc. If you do not know how to create and charge such an item, you can always get one from our friend Phil, and I've put his channel in the recommended links on the About tab on my YouTube page. So you can click on his page, get the information for his store, call him up, contact him, explain to him what you need, and he'll be able to hook you up. His page is the Witch School page. The Uncrossing ritual that I had done a video on previously is very, very good at eliminating negative entities from you. However, you also want to do a house cleansing when you're doing these things, especially the uncrossing, because if anything detaches from you, where do you think it's going to go? Into your environment. And see, this is why I was talking about my $3,000 vacuum cleaner. It wasn't to brag, it wasn't to gloat. It was to stress the importance of keeping your environment clean. Negative entities do not like hanging out in clean environments. It's probably where the old saying, cleanliness is next to godliness, came from. So you want to keep your space clean, especially where you sleep. Get under the bed, in every corner, etc. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with paranormal shows such as Paranormal Witness. I watch these kind of shows as comedies. I find them hysterical. Most of the shows always start off and end the same way. Typically, a family will move into a house, or they'll renovate an old house, and then activity will stir up, and it drives them crazy, and all these frightening things are happening, and eventually they'll either call a paranormal team or a priest. If they call a priest, the priest will come in, and there's very little he can do. It scares him off. He runs out the door. If they call a paranormal team, they'll get some kind of evidence or something. Eventually, they'll come down to having a house blessing or cleansing. I remember one show where the guy called himself a spiritual cleanser or something like that. I've never heard of that. Well, it's the same thing. He's doing the same thing that you should be doing when you have these type of things happening. They'll either break out the holy water or the smudge sticks, or both, and they'll go to each room and bless and say some prayers, or typically even the Psalms. Psalm 21, I believe, is good for that. Now, to make holy water, you want to get some water, you want to put some salt in there, preferably sea salt. Mix it up real good. Hold the container in your right hand while you're visualizing a light above your head. Imagine that light coming down through your body, through your arm, and into the water. Turn the visualization up, make it brighter until you can feel it, until you can feel the vibrations going into the container of water, and that container of water becomes brighter and brighter and brighter until where it's blinding you. It's good to do this while reciting the Psalms 21, or whatever prayer is good for your tradition. Okay? Any prayer of protection will do. When you've been able to hold this visualization for several minutes, then you should be done and you have holy water. It's a good idea to bless your smudge sticks as well, your white sage smudge sticks. With the holy water, you want to go from room to room and sprinkle holy water on everything, especially the corners. Make sure you get the corners and any areas that are not in view where anything can hide. Same thing with the smudge sticks. Now the big difference here between holy water and smudging an area is the difference in the elements that you're using. We talked about it before. Water and earth are receptive elements. Fire and air are projective elements. So when you're using a smudge stick, for example, fire and air, you want to open a window because these two elements are going to chase the negative energy entity away, and you want to have somewhere where it can go. You want it to go out. You don't want to just corner it somewhere like a wild animal. Now on the flip side, using water and salt as the receptive elements, they're going to draw the negative energy into itself. Okay, so you're going to want to clean that stuff up afterwards. Another vacuuming, another rub down, wash down. Dispose of those materials, those elements off of your property. Don't just dump them down the sink or toilet unless you want it to go into your plumbing, etc. Now the important thing to keep in mind when doing a house cleansing with these methods is that negative energy isn't the only energy susceptible to the elements. Positive energy will also be absorbed by the water and the salt. They're neutralizing agents. They bring things back to neutral. So if you have a happy, positive home, you do not want to do this. You only want to break out the smudge sticks and the holy water if you're having problems with negative energy entities. Okay? Whenever I want to discharge an item, maybe I got something at the store or something, I don't want other people's energy or the manufacturer's energy or anything on that or within that item. I'll bury it in salt. And I'll do that for about 24, 48 hours, sometimes longer, so that the salt absorbs all that. And then I dispose of the salt off of my property. Now, I didn't make the object more positive. I just brought it back to neutral. I can now take that object and charge it with positive or negative energy if I so choose. It's the same thing you're doing with the holy water and the salt. Okay? You're just bringing things back to neutral. Another thing you want to do is get some protection oil. Uncrossing oil is excellent for this. If you don't have any, you can get some from Phil. You want to anoint the forehead, back of the neck, chest, groin, and feet in an equal armed cross sign, which is just like a plus sign. And then after you've done your house cleansing, because you don't want to trap anything in with you, so after you've done your house cleansing, you want to anoint on or above each and every door and window opening to your home. And the final thing I'm going to go over, and one of the most important, is to stop dwelling on it. I'll go back to the very first lesson where I said to reject and banish those negative thoughts. These things are attention whores. What they'll do is they'll try to attach to you and then give you and feed you negative thoughts. The first thing they'll do is they'll try to scare you. And the more they scare you, the more they get you thinking about it. And the more you think about them, the more access you give them. They get a better foothold. And the whole thing just becomes an endless spiral. One that gives them more control and dominance in your life. So you want to reject and banish any negative thoughts or thoughts of them that pop into your mind. I've been able to chase away some pretty nasty things with nothing but just love in my heart. They do not like that. I take pity on them that they cannot feel the love. And I'll ask them questions, Why do you not want to feel the love? Why do you reject joy and happiness? And they can't get away from me fast enough. But see, in order to use that method, you have to be out of a fear state. You cannot be in fear and have success with that. So this is why you need to utilize all these other traditional methods to rid yourself of these things until you can get to that place where you're no longer afraid. There's a saying that I have that those who go looking for demons are the ones who find them. Meaning the more you focus on these things, the more foothold and more likely you are to draw these things to you. I know of a group who focuses on reptilians, and a lot of the members never had problems with reptilians until they joined the group and started focusing on them. You got to remember that the subconscious is also connected to the collective unconscious, where all the data is stored. And when you're focusing on something like that, you're basically trying to access that. And then you have problems with it. It's not that these things aren't real. They're very real to those who experience them. And just as real as any of the stimuli collected and transmitted by your conscious mind sensory faculties, sight, hearing, touch, taste, smell. These are all signals that are processed by the brain and then interpreted. So in that regards as to what's real and what's not. And so they are very real. But what you think about, you bring about. And what you focus on expands. Giving these things the attention is exactly what they want. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the crazy things that have happened to me. I've had my keys slide across the coffee table right in front of me as I'm watching TV, all on their own. I've had those negative entities of just pure negativity visit me in the middle of the night and wake me up. I've had every plumbing problem that you can imagine, one right after another, when dealing with a rogue water elemental. We live on a street that's on a hill, and I've seen it defy the laws of physics when water from a drain pipe up the street came down the street, stopped in front of my driveway, turned 90 degrees, jumped the curb, which means it had to go uphill to get over the curb, and run down my driveway to my front porch. I have pictures of that. One time in temple when I was doing my exercises and imagining the bright light over my head, I had a bright flash right in my face as if somebody set a flash cube off in front of me, blinding me. And every fiber of my being would swear that that was physical light. But it could have been a product of the mind, or the mind interpreting the signal as physical light. The experience was very real. However, was it physical real? To this day, I don't know. Does it really matter? I mean, we deal with it and we move on. An experience is just that. It is an experience. And we are meant to learn from our experiences. You're going to find that a lot of the so-called hauntings are self-made. Indian burial grounds and the curse of King Tut and these other civilizations of the past would purposely create what is known as Thoughtforms or Servitors to guard their burial sites. Ceremonial magicians eventually learned to create their own positive Thoughtforms or Servitors to help aid in their tasks. We're not going to get too much into that right now, but just know that you can accidentally create a thought form too just by simply focusing on it. And then giving it the characteristics of what you're focusing on. Fear and intimidation, reptilians, and then the reptilians are next to you. So, if you're having problems with negative entities, a psychic attack, and things like that, you want to employ the methods that we've discussed here, and then stop focusing on them. Banish all your negative thoughts and avoid giving them the attention that they're seeking. It's really not a big deal once you learn how to handle them. And we'll get more into entities and all that later. But for now, I hope this helps those who are having issues. And I'll see you next time. Take care.